Welcome to Enlightened, the enlightened journey of life. I am your host, Jen Hamilton, and it is an honor to have you here. I am a conscious life coach and women's empowerment mentor, and I activate a potent level of self and soul inquiry with my clients, which initiates deep and lasting transformation in all areas of their lives. I am here for the full human experience, authentically and audaciously sharing my magic with the world. On this podcast, we're all about mastering life on the way to enlightenment. And as we are here having a human experience, we might as well embrace it all. We play in the space of what is real and tangible, just as much as we play in the space of esoteric and metaphysical. You'll be ignited by deep conversation, whether through my own personal musings, interviews with incredible thought leaders around the world, and everyday divine humans sharing their soulful stories. Thank you for being on this journey. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Enlightened Podcast. I am your host, Jen Hamilton, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Fran Garton. Now, Fran is a pain reduction coach, body positive personal trainer, and fibromyalgia warrior, best-selling author and speaker who helps women who desperately want to live pain-free. She teaches clients to identify triggers, reduce stress, and set boundaries with easy to implement mindset, movement, and nutrition strategies. In her free time, you can find her hanging out with her furry donkeys and kittens, engaging in her old lady cross-stitching addiction, or having a dance party. Meet Fran and get ready to experience her passion for pain-free living. So without further ado, let's dive in. Welcome, Fran. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode today. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. As a pain reduction coach and body positive personal trainer, I got all that out. Tell us a bit about your story and why you're here doing what you do.
Why is the hardest question always first? I guess that's the one that's the most important. I don't know. Um, so my story, I was an adult educator with the school board for 16 years. And during that time, I was working under stressful conditions. So as an educator, healthcare is another field. The powers that be make all the decisions, and then all the people on the front lines have to execute, whether it's realistic or not. And so that causes a lot of stress and being unable to manage stress well, I took that on. And what ended up happening was I went into work one morning, went into my classroom and turned on the lights and I couldn't see anything. And so I had lost vision in my one of my eyes. The other one, it came back right away, but the other one, nothing. And I had been suffering up until that point for about 6 or 7 months with nausea, headaches, difficulty seeing, things like that. But I just kind of brushed it off, I think, as many of us do, is it's fine, it will pass, no big deal. But that morning was sort of the breaking point, and I left. I went home. I ended up in bed for 4 months with a migraine.
Wow.
And
Oh my
and I when I
gosh.
say this out loud, people always think I'm kidding. And legit, I had a migraine for 4 months. Like nothing would take the pain away and vision loss. And I stayed in bed for 4 months. And so from there, I sort of, you know, and maybe some people can resonate with this. We're slow learners. I like to think I'm educated and smart and all of that. But sometimes we're slow learners. And in this instance, I was. So instead of changing everything, I changed a few things. And I, didn't take a lot of work home and tried to, reduce my stress and worked on stress strategies and things like that. And then eventually I left and went to part-time teaching. At the same time, about a year after this event, and I'd only been back to work for about 6 months, I had massive pain in my body. So like bolts of electricity shooting through my arms, feet, hands, legs to the point where I couldn't sleep. like I would pass out from exhaustion and then I'd be jolted awake from this, like it felt like electricity. And what ended up happening was I got a diagnosis of fibromyalgia. And so then that was another sort of hurdle to deal with. And so then I started pulling away a little bit more from teaching. And then and I started personal training. And the reason I did that, not because I wanted it as a business at all. I was playing roller derby and I was the trainer on my team. I was the head trainer. And I kind of thought, I should learn. Like I knew stuff and I had worked out. And my dad was a professional bodybuilder. So I learned a lot from him. But I thought I should get some formal education about this so I can guide the girls and my team. And so I became a certified personal trainer. And then people just started saying, "Can you train me? Can you train me?" And so then I had all these clients. But my goal was never to leave teaching. My goal was always to stay as an adult educator and then just do this coaching training on the side. And then what happened was I thought, this is kind of a business and I should sort of think about it that way. So I started working with a business coach and I had a mentor, and my mentor had said to me, like, you need to replace this income. Like, what's it take to replace? How many clients do you need to replace your teaching income? And I'm like, he goes, no, no, go write it down, figure out the number and let me know. And I was like, two. He goes, all right, let's get two more clients. And then in August of 2019, I quit my teaching job and now I do personal training. I teach fitness classes and I am a pain reduction coach and I do that full time now. So I did leave training. I did leave teaching. It's just, I guess, teaching in a different capacity as a trainer. But that's
Yeah.
kind of the overall story. So really the vision loss and the stress really has led me to do a lot of the coaching that I do now and a lot of the workshops I do focusing on stress management and setting boundaries and dealing with pain because pain is a big topic
Mm.
that I think is very um not misunderstood, but I think in the and I don't know where you are, like the view where you are, Jen, but here, if you go to the medical doctors, they view everything from a medical mindset, which is their training. And so for me, I deal with things from as someone who has fibromyalgia, like how can I manage my pain? Like I live pain free. And
Mm.
it's it is possible and I teach people to do that, but I look at it from movement and from energy and from a nutrition mindset point of view. And then if you go to somebody else, they'll have their own perspective as well. So it's interesting how multifaceted pain is and how big it is as a topic.
Yes, it is a huge topic, and there's so many different aspects of it because, as you said, like you go to a doctor and they'll treat you with pharmaceuticals for it. They'll treat the symptoms essentially. They work
Mhm.
directly off symptoms, whereas
Yeah.
even as a hypnotherapist and a life coach, I have worked with clients that have come to me with fibromyalgia. Now, I'm not saying I'm a medical professional that treats anybody specifically. However, they have had incredible results within themselves by doing their inner work and getting in touch with their own emotions and their feelings and getting their stress under control. Exactly what you said. And it's
Yeah.
so interesting, isn't it? Because, we have to understand that our mind is connected to every single cell in our body. So what is going on underneath the surface is going to present in the body.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think, and I'm currently in a sling because my arthritis in my shoulder has flared up and it's caused my fibro to flare. So the past week has been a little bit intense for me. However, even connecting to what you said about the mind, last night I've been sleeping on the couch. Thankfully, we have a reclining couch, so I can recline a little bit. I'm not totally upright, but I I moved my arm and it kind of flipped backwards towards the couch, like from my elbow towards my lower arm. And that is not a movement that I can do right now uh, with the pain that I have in the shoulder. And when I did, I was like, oh, fuck. Like I screamed. And then I was like, wait a minute. I'm good. Like it's okay. Like it's a moment of pain. It's
Mm.
okay. So I remember, and this happened last night, and I remember sitting on the couch and I closed my eyes. I was like, okay, you're gonna be okay. Like everything's fine. It's a moment of pain. It doesn't mean that the pain's gonna last the whole night, because as soon as it happened, of course, I swore, cats ran, they're like, "What's happening? What's going on?" And then I was like, "Wait a minute, I don't have to live in this moment for the rest of the evening and the rest of my sleep time. I can just let the pain go, breathe through it, and eventually it will dissipate." Like, okay, I have CBD cream, I put some of that on. Yes, I went and took a Tylenol, absolutely, and then I sat down, did some breathing. And so I think that, like you said, there are so many aspects of it, and there are so many pieces to it, that yes, the traditional medical system, like when I went to Emerge this weekend, yeah, it was like, take Percocet and you'll be fine. I'm like, well, okay, maybe it's physical. Yes, okay, I get it. That's a physical thing, structural. Yes, I have arthritis. But there are other pieces of it, right? And there are other things happening in life that may be connected to this pain that's here. And just last night, about when the pain happened, and I was like, it's okay. I'll be fine. And it did. The pain went away. Yeah, of course. I took Tylenol. Sure. Why not? Like, there are so many things that can help, and I think sometimes we need to open our minds to what the possibilities are. And
Absolutely.
last week I was talking to my osteopath, and I said to her, I don't know, like, do I need to, like, cut heads off chickens and run around and dance in the rain naked? Like, I don't wait, roll in the snow. I don't know what you want me like, what can I do? Because when you're in pain, right? Like, and that's how I think sometimes we need to view it, is that when you're in pain, right? Whatever the source is, that's a different podcast, all the sources of it, but, like, whatever the source is, there are many different options, and sometimes I find, and you probably maybe encounter this with some of your clients as well, "Well, I'm not gonna do that." Okay, but why don't you try? Like, why don't we try eliminating a food that's inflammatory? Why don't we try saying, "No, I'm not gonna do that thing because I don't have time." And I just don't want to, right? I'm not going to say yes because you want me to. Why don't you try that? See what happens. And I think sometimes we need to open our minds to what are the possibilities. And if, yeah, not that I have anything against chickens, but if you want me to cut a head off a chicken, if that means my pain will end, sometimes when you're in that much pain, yeah, I'll do whatever you ask me to do, right? And I think
Yeah, you'll do
sometimes
whatever
we
it
have
takes.
these, yeah, and you have we I think we get into these patterns of, well, this is what I do. Okay, great. That's what you do to solve the problem. Is it solving your problem? Well, kinda. Okay, so maybe you need to add something to that toolbox. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of metaphysical anatomy. And I actually have a textbook on metaphysical anatomy. And basically, it says, for every single different part of the body, the different side, whether it's the left or the right, the feminine or the masculine, each ailment that we have, each dis-ease that can, present in the body is related to an emotion or a stored trauma, an experience as a child. It could even be from past life. I'm about to start studying past life regression therapy, and I'm so excited to dive into it because I know
Mhm.
through working with so many different people and having a deep understanding of metaphysical anatomy, just how much these things can carry through in our cell memory.
Yeah, yeah. I just finished reading Emotion Code, the book
Mhm.
Emotion Code. I don't know if you've read that, and it's very interesting how they talk about, like you said, the masculine, the feminine side, and the different parts of the body and what's it connected to. And yeah, it is connected to past life. Could be intergenerational. Like, it could be, all these things that have been carried through, and we sometimes forget that emotional, energetic connection to what's going on in the
Mhm.
body, because the body really stores that, right? It holds that pain, trauma,
Oh, it
whatever
really
word you
does.
want to use. Yeah, yeah. But the thing too is that it's hard work, right? Like, doing all the emotional stuff is hard work. I
Mm.
have
I
had,
think,
yeah. Go ahead.
sorry.
Sorry, Jen. Yeah. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I think with, even just framing it as hard work, I mean, hard is subjective, isn't it? Like, if you told me, as a PT, if you're like, "Hey, Jen, get down and do 20 burpees," mate, that's hard. If you're like, "Hey, talk about your childhood," I'm like, "Hey, that's easy." Like, "Don't
Yeah,
make me do
yeah. Oh,
20 burpees."
absolutely. Yes. It's true.
So I
You're
think
right,
you get to
Jen.
pick
Yeah.
your hard. I think you get to pick your hard.
Yeah.
Um, because at the end of the day, like for me, like there is nothing joyful at the end of doing 20 burpees. Like I feel all I want to do is just punch my trainer. But at the end of doing any sort of, emotional release work, I know that there is a bliss point on the other side of that. So I'm like, even though it's wildly uncomfortable at the time, I will take that.
Right.
I'll do what it takes to move through, because if that means eliminating pain or eliminating dis-ease within my body or eliminating anything that's going on that shouldn't be there or I don't want it to be there, I'm going to go and I'm going to fix that, because ultimately, like, my highest values are, freedom, health, and peace, and I'll do anything to live in alignment with those things. Even one of my words for this year is vitality. And so I'm really bringing forth into my, my conscious awareness, what is it that I can do to have more vitality in my life? And if I was in pain, I don't experience any sort of ongoing pain. But if I was in pain, I know how much that hinders your experience of like fucking everything.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? You're right. And when I use that word hard, I mean, I always think about that. That's in quotation mark. It could be uncomfortable. It could be things we're not used to doing. Like, and to be clear, I hate the term personal trainer because it's not really what I do. Like, I would never give you burpees, Jen. I think burpees are stupid. Like, and you can quote me on
Okay, you
that.
can
Burpees are the
stay.
dumbest exercise I have ever experienced in my whole entire life, and I would never give them to you. However,
Thank you.
that being said, some days when you're doing the emotional stuff, you might actually like to do a burpee instead because it's a little bit easier. And I'll put that in quotation marks, easier, but it really is because, it's uncomfortable. And I think for myself and the stuff that I've done, like my emotional work and my journey, you have to realize things maybe about yourself that you're like, that wasn't really very nice of me because we change. And, when you're like, I think about when I was in the height of my pain, when I was, before I got diagnosed with fibro, I spent almost a whole entire year in pain. Diagnosis takes anywhere from 1 to 3 years for many people before they figure out, because they gotta rule, I'll put it in quotation marks again, they rule everything out, right? It's not this, it's not this, it's not this, and then finally they go, "Well, you have fibro." And so that whole time, you're trying to figure out what's going on, and you don't know how to manage anything, right? And so it's interesting how as you go through it, and I'm in the height of my pain, so I'm talking 15 out of 10 on a daily basis. Like that was my normal. And I'm sure I was really grumpy. I'm surprised my husband didn't leave me, to be perfectly
Mm,
honest, because I was not nice to be around. And then after, when I started going through the emotional things and going through the journey and healing all that stuff, I had a lot of forgiveness work to do and sorries, lots of sorries
mm,
that I had to
mm.
deliver, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
can't even begin to imagine what it's like to live with chronic pain. I mean, I have the acute pain I guess I experience is, when I have my period, probably once every 6 months, I'll have a painful one. Other than that, I only just get, very mild cramping. And so when I am in pain, oh my God, it's the end of the world because, I can't function. It's, clear my schedule. Someone pass me a hot pack, like I'm going back to bed, for the day.
Yeah.
And even if I take a Nurofen, like ibuprofen, it'll take the edge off, but it's done for the day. And I know that, it will pass. I can't even begin to imagine what that's like to live with day in, day out for such a long period of time.
So I like to talk about this because I think it's really important. And if you don't have chronic pain, you're lucky. Great, congratulations. Um, but if you have chronic pain or you know people that do, this is what it's like. First of all, it's extremely exhausting. You are exhausted. The moment that you open your eyes in the morning, you're already tired, and I mean tired, like bone tired, and you still have your whole entire day. But there's many people that have there's a woman, Christine Miserandino, and she created a term called spoonie theory. And what that is that people that live with chronic pain and people who don't have chronic pain, we all have a certain number of spoons in our day, and each spoon is one unit of energy. And so for every task you do, it will take a spoon, sometimes two spoons. So for someone who has chronic pain, getting up in the morning, and I just mean like getting themselves out of bed, could act like, let's say you have 10 spoons for your day. That's 1 spoon to get themselves out of bed. Then to have a shower could be 2 more spoons, depending on what their pain level is. Then they got to make breakfast. That's another spoon. Then they got to get to work. Okay, so now I've got 5 spoons that I've used already. I've just reached my workplace. I still have my whole entire day ahead of me, and I've already used half my spoons.
Mm.
So now, like as a person that has chronic pain, we really need to make a decision of how we're going to allocate our spoons and how we're going to use them. And people that don't have chronic pain don't really get it because for you, let's say, Jen, you're like, okay, I'm tired. It's been a long day. I got up really early. I'm going to have a nap for half an hour. You go lie down and then you feel good. You're like, oh, okay, I'm good. I can get on. I can do another 4 or 5 hours of work. For someone that has chronic pain, just taking a half-hour nap, taking a 2-hour nap even, is not going to regenerate them. That's just a little bit of a break in the day of doing things that still cause them pain.
Mm.
And so you really need to think about, how many you have 10 spoons in your day and every action takes a spoon.
Mhm.
And it's a very hard thing to wrap your mind around. And I did a presentation on this last year and one of the questions I got was, okay, but like getting dressed and getting ready for your day, having breakfast, getting to work, all of that's 1 spoon. I'm like, for you, it's 1 spoon.
Mm.
For me, dress, shower, breakfast, drive, 4 spoons. They're like,
Okay.
really? I thought, yeah, that's really how it is. And for things that are really little, which we and I put that in quotation marks because again, it's all relative, but like living in a two-story house, going from the basement to the main floor to the second floor, that's like 30 stairs. And you go, yeah, 30 stairs. Yeah. But for someone who has chronic pain, they may have to have a break and pause on the first level before they can actually finish the other 15 stairs. And it's not because they're not in shape and they're not, that's not what it is. It's about the fact that the pain is so high that they have to stop because if they don't, the flare when they get to the top of the stairs is going to be more intense than if they didn't stop.
Mm.
So it's always a matter of relative and comparison and how that goes. And people that have chronic pain don't sleep well. They aren't rested. So you're always exhausted.
Mm. Yeah. I actually had a group chat with some girlfriends once and we used the spoon theory more of like an emotional thing, like how many spoons we've got. And I remember just I had a breakdown one time, like I've dropped all my spoons. They're all
Yeah.
over the floor. I've got
Yeah.
nothing left.
Yeah, exactly. And there are some days too that you're like, spoons? No, they didn't. No, nobody washed them last night. The drawer is empty. Like the
Yeah.
drawer is empty today. There are no spoons for
I've
me.
got no
So
spoons.
nothing is
Yep.
happening. Right.
Yep.
And it is really interesting when you my husband is an amazing man and he's so understanding, but there are some days that when I was in the height of it, he's like, I understand how you feel with the pain and how tired you are. I'm like, you can't understand. And sometimes I just want to punch him in the face. Like honestly, and he knows I've said that like because you just don't understand. Like you
Yeah.
try and bless his heart, like he really does try. He's so compassionate and so helpful. I mean, I'd be lost without him, honestly. But
Mhm.
when people that are dealing with something that you can't identify with and have no personal experience with, that statement, and maybe it's just a thing for me, but I know other people that have chronic pain that agree. When someone says, I understand how you feel, you just want to scream because you're like, you don't.
You
And
don't.
it's
Yeah.
very frustrating and it feels like they're invalidating how you feel. And that's not the intention. I'm well aware of that. But in the moment, you're in the pain, you're in this cycle, and someone says, I understand how you feel. And you're like, no, you do not. I want to punch you right now. Right. Because it's
What
just frustrating.
Yeah. What do you want to be said? Like, what can someone say who's not experiencing pain, who is either living or, around someone, working with someone, perhaps in a
Yeah.
relationship with someone with pain? What can we say?
Yeah, that's a great question. You can just say to them, is there anything that I can help you with? Is there
Yeah.
anything that you need? What can I do? Shall I walk away? Do you want me to
Yeah.
stop talking? Like those kinds of things. And it sounds very odd, but when it comes to fibromyalgia, and I know there are other conditions, but I'm going to speak on that because it's what I have. But our sensory receptors are extremely heightened. So, for example, this happened last week when I hurt myself. My husband was sitting beside me and he was eating. And okay, I talk about my husband a lot. He's a really good person and he doesn't do like he really is. But he was eating and he's not a loud eater. You can't hear him. He doesn't smack his lips or anything. Like he's very polite and all the manners, right? And I looked at him and I said, "Are you done eating soon?" And he's like, he looks at me and he goes, "What?" I go, "You're the chewing is too loud. I ca I cannot handle the chewing right now." And it wasn't loud. It's just that I was in a pain flare. I'm in this pain cycle and everything is heightened now. So for people that have these extra receptive like sensory issues, loud chewing, and I put quotation marks around that, it wasn't loud chewing, it was for me in the moment it was.
Mm.
So that's the other thing too, is that when I said that, do you want me to stop talking? Yeah, because maybe in the moment that is just loud noise.
Mhm.
It's not you talking and trying to help me and comfort me. It's just "Wah, wah," like Charlie Brown's teacher. Remember that
Yeah.
cartoon? And the "Wah, wah, 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 wah." It's all it sounds like to me, but really, really loud and is not pleasant when you're in
I
a
feel
cycle,
you on
right?
that. I
Yeah.
don't have pain at the sound of someone chewing, making noise when they eat. I think it's actually like a thing. Like there's I don't know what the name of it is, but
There
it's
is.
like a
There's some
thing.
kind of technical, yeah, yeah, yeah.
There
And
is a
but the thing,
technical
it
name.
wasn't loud. It wasn't loud at all. It just that for me in that
You
moment,
could hear it.
everything, oh God, everything, like the sheets ruffling, like everything was too loud. And it was just because
Mhm.
in that moment. So yeah, if you do have someone in your life that has pain, just ask them, can I help you? Is there anything that I can do? Do you need me to leave? Can I
Mhm.
get anything for you? Like, what do you need? Because
Yeah.
we sometimes don't know, right? Or we can't verbalize that. Or so the other thing you could do is ask things like, are you hot? Are you cold? Are you thirsty?
Mhm.
Like things like that, right? Because if I'm
Break it right
hot, then
down.
okay, turn a fan on. If I'm cold, get me a sweater. Like please. And the other thing that I think is really important to say to people is you need to take care of yourself. So please feel free. And it sounds like permission, and I don't like to use that word, but it really is what we sometimes need to hear. Just go lie down. My husband says that to me all the time. Just go lie down. I'm like, I don't want to lie down. He goes, okay, then leave the room and go do what you need to do for you, whatever that looks like. Right. Because I can't, there's nothing that can be done in the moment, but I need to take time for myself. But I think sometimes, as caregivers, as, people that run their own businesses, as caring, compassionate people, all these things that we are, we do so many things. And sometimes I truly believe that we need other people to say to us, it's okay. Don't
Mhm.
worry about it. I got it. Like, and I feel like my kitchen right now is a mess. And I said to my husband, I will get the kitchen clean before you come home from work. And he's like, "Don't worry about it." I said, "No, that's what I've decided. That's one of my tasks for today. It's going to take me all day to do because I'm in a big flare right now, but it's okay. It'll get done. And if it doesn't, it's also okay." And that's what he said to me. He goes, "Okay, but if it doesn't get done, I can do it later." And you need to receive that. That's the other thing. It's not the hearing of it, it's the receiving of it from the people that are saying these things to you, whether it's don't worry about it or what can I get you, or receive what they're offering you. And I think we have a hard time sometimes receiving.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that I do in my own relationship, and then I, offer this suggestion to clients as well, is having the conversation with someone when they're not in it about when you're in it, what would you like me to do for you?
Absolutely.
Because I've noticed like if I'm going through like what I call like a fire moment where I'm just like a little bit ragey and I've got some emotions swirling through me that need to come out of me, if someone's like, "Oh, what do you want me to do?" I'd be like, "Fuck off." I'm very reactive as opposed to
Yes.
responsive. It's
Yes.
like, I don't know what I want right now. I just need
Yeah.
to explode. And so, my partner and I have had the conversation outside of that fire time to be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, if you see me moving through something really big, then, just say, hey, what is it that you would like me to do? And the biggest thing is don't take it personally if I say
Mhm.
that I don't want you around, or don't
Yep.
take it personally if I say, I just need to leave and just go put my feet in the pool or something like that. Um, so we have the conversation outside of the time that we're in it, so that we know, okay, like it's almost like, all right, we grab the emergency kit, we're in it now. What is it that we need?
Yeah.
And I do this with my children as well, because as you would probably know, like when children are going through like an emotional turmoil, they're not rational in that moment,
Mhm.
but it's when we know what to support them with and how to support them outside of that emotional outburst. Like, you can't reason with a child that's having a tantrum,
Yeah.
but you can say to them, hey, when you're feeling like that, what is the best thing that mummy can do for you? Would you like me to sit with you? Did you
Mhm.
want me to hold your hand? Do you want me to rub your back? Do you want me to rub your head? Do you think you might need a glass of water then? And then they know that when it's happening, that they're safe. I remind them always, whatever you're feeling, you're safe to feel this way. It's okay to get angry. It's okay to have a tantrum. It's okay to cry. Normalizing it all. I would feel exactly the same way if that happened to me.
Yeah.
You're not alone. I feel this way all the time too. What is it that
Yeah.
I can do to support you in that moment? And it just gives them
Absolutely.
the permission to just be in their stuff.
Yeah. And it's a great way that you explain it, because I think sometimes when we are in that moment, when we're having an event, we are like children because we don't know what we want and we don't know how to verbalize it and we don't know what's going to make us feel better, honestly. And I think too, Jen, when you're starting on this journey, whatever that looks like for you don't know because you haven't had the experience of even dealing with it. Like, so you're like, I really don't know what I need right now. I have a client and she's created in her house, in the spare room of her house, one of the dressers in there. It's kind of her sensory area, her feeling center, her timeout space, whatever you want to call it. And she has a lot of things there. She's got like a bottle of water, she's got a bottle of juice, she has snacks like granola bars. She has crayons and coloring book. She has music. She has a journal. She has like a really nice soft blanket. She's got slipper. So in that corner of in that area of the room is all of these things that she might need during a time that she has to get a timeout and remove herself because she's feeling overwhelmed for whatever is going on with her. And she always goes to that spot, and then she has a whole bunch of options there. She's got a pillow there, she can have a nap, whatever.
Mm,
So she has a whole bunch of different things that are there. That's the spot. So whenever she's like, I gotta go because something is happening right now, she's like, later, she says, I gotta go. And her husband goes, okay. And she goes into her room and she does what she needs to do. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's 5 hours. And as
yeah.
soon as she goes, her family members are like, okay, so she's removed herself. So
Yeah.
she's doing her thing and we're going to just carry on with our day. And they don't bother her because they know when she's gone to that spot that she needs to deal with whatever's going on. So it's a
Mm,
great thing to, and like you said, when you're in a situation, when you're not in that heightened situation and you're feeling good, sit down and think about, okay, what would make me feel better or what are some options? And then just put like a little, like you said, like a physical emergency kit, like, and pack it. It can be like your go-to bag and just stick it in the corner of the room. And then whenever you need it, you go get your emergency bag and you kind of rifle through it till you find the thing that works. And
yeah,
I
I
think
did
it's a
that.
good
I did that
tool.
with a Yeah, I did that with a client. We literally made an emergency box, and in it she had some of her essential oil rollers. She had affirmations, she had a crystal. It was the
Yeah.
time to, like, just a reminder, go and just sit down and make a ceremonial cacao, do
Yeah.
some deep breathing. Like, even my daughter, who's 8, she was having a bit of a hard time and even just sort of settling to go to sleep. So we made a list of, affirmations that she can say to herself. Hands over her heart, do some deep breaths all the way down to her belly. She can journal, she can read a book. So she literally has that on her bedside that she will go to. It's like, okay, I know that I'm feeling this way. what is it that I can do to support myself in the moment? So whether it's anything, emotional, or whether it is physical with pain, having those things that we know that are going to support us there is such a vital part of the journey.
Absolutely, I love that. And then the other thing that I would add too, sometimes if you are the other person, um, just ask, "Do you need me now? Do you want me here?" And if they either don't say anything or they say no, they don't, then you can just go. And if they say they want you there, the second thing that I would say, they just might want you physically there. You don't need to
Yeah.
say anything. You don't need to offer any words. They just might want you there.
Just your presence. Yeah. Just sitting in the room.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So that I think sometimes is a harder thing because we're not I think we're kind of I don't want to use the word condition, but it seems that, when someone has a problem, we talk about it, right? And we kind of work through it and we give suggestions and advice. And that's wonderful. But sometimes I don't want someone to give me advice. I just really want them to sit there while I cry and they can pass me a tissue. like
Yeah.
honestly, or just to be there in the same space. So
Mhm.
it's not always that you need to say something. The presence is always sometimes even more powerful than saying anything at all.
100% it is. And that's, yeah, just someone holding space is like sometimes the best thing that can happen. What are some of the stress reduction strategies that you have, Fran?
Okay, so you've already mentioned breathing. Breath work is really important. So, always come back to your breath. Like honestly, it will change everything for you. Um, so breath work is really important. The other thing that um, I like to talk about when it comes to stress, and there's so much research out there, like you can dive into 27 different categories of stress. You just need two. As far as I'm concerned, I like things to be simple. You have internal stressors and external stressors. Internal stresses are the things you control. Your words, your thoughts, your actions, your feelings, your reactions. That's it. External stresses are the ones you don't control. Everything outside of you. So that includes kids, spouse, other family members, work, situations in the world, COVID, schedules with the airplane, like all these things. These are all beyond your control. And so if you can
Loud
really,
chewing.
I get right? Yeah, I get my clients to actually do this, to write down what are all your stressors. So I encourage your listeners do this. Write down everything that stresses you out. And then I want you to go through them, that list, and actually look like really think about it. Is it an external stressor, meaning something that I really don't have control over? Or is it an internal stressor? And the problem that people run into is that they think their children, their spouse, other people and other people's reactions and thoughts are actually internal stressors. And they're not because we don't control anybody else. We only control ourselves. So go through that list. If it's an internal, put an I beside it. If it's an external stressor, put an E beside it. Their next step after that, you're going to cross off all the external stressors. And I do this exercise with my clients all the time. Every workshop that I do it, and I make people do it in real time. And I have had people say to me in the workshop, "Oh my gosh." And I said, "Well, would you like to share?" "Yeah, when we did this, I had 20 things on my list." I was like, "Oh, okay." Then I did part two, the I and the E, the internal, external. I have two items left. Yeah, yeah, you got two items left. Right. Because everything else is external. So if you have no control over it, I don't know why you're worrying about it. Right? Like, and COVID is a good example, is a perfect example of this. I did not feel stressed about COVID then or now at all because it is an external stressor. Any government rules, I have no control over those. Schools shutting down, yes, sucks. It's terrible. Yes, it's a huge schedule fuck up, right? But I have no control over whether the school is closed or not. So for me to stress about my kids aren't going back to school, they are. I it has nothing to do with me. I don't make the rules. So me putting energy into that external stressor is ridiculous. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a dead end, isn't it? It's a
It
waste of
is.
energy, it's a waste
But
of
we
spoons.
but lots of people focus and when you actually write down your stressors, A lot of people are focusing their energy on external stressors that they have no control over. So that is another strategy that I like. Another one that I use is called the 3Ds. And this is about really looking at your tasks or your day. So you have your list of all the things you need to do. Let's say today, you're going to use the 3D method: decide, delegate, or delete. So if you decide, you're going to do it. You delegate it, you're going to ask somebody else to do it. Or three, you're going to delete it. So the delete things are those recurring things that are kind of in the back of your mind, that I should really get new curtains, or I should really vacuum the house. Okay, but I don't need to do it today. It could be something that I give to someone else. I could delegate that, or it could be something that's later on, right? It's not a today task. So when you look at your tasks from a decide to do them, delegate to others, or delete them from your list, it really changes the way you view your day, because you're going to pick to do the things that are really important and necessary. The other things you can delegate, and of those, whatever's left, just delete it. It If it's important, it will come back. So that's a really good strategy that I use. And then another one I like is I have two more. One, I have a list called "It Would Be Nice." So these are the big projects that I don't know about you, Jen, but like to stay in my head, the back of my brain, and they take up some space. So in my studio at home, I have curtains in my studio, and I hung the curtains, but they're too long. And for the longest time, they were pinned, but they weren't hemmed. And for the longest time, I would do my like weekly list, and hem curtains in the studio was always on my weekly list. And finally, I was like, why? What? So I've created an "It Would Be Nice" list. So my curtains got moved to the "It Would Be Nice" list. And so now I have this list of things that it would be nice if they got done: cleaning out my garage, donating some clothes, like all of these things that you use to procrastinate the other things that you need to do,
Mhm.
right? So I have this "It Would Be Nice" list. So when those little nuggets show up, and I'm like, oh no, no, it's not a delegate, it's not a decide, it's going to go on that list for later. And then I have a place to park it, and I don't have to worry about it. And then the last strategy that I use, and my clients use, is a stress appointment. So you pick a time and a day of the week. I like to do like 30 minutes is a good time frame. So Fridays at 3 o'clock. Friday at 3 o'clock is my stress appointment. So I write down as I go through the week all the things that are stressing me out, and I just write them on a piece of paper. Friday at 3 o'clock, I get out my stress list, and this is the time that you are allowed to feel stressed. You can look at that list, you can cry, you can shout, you can get angry, you can do whatever you need to do, but you are in the moment of stress for that 30 minutes. The interesting thing about this strategy is as you practice it more and more, what you're going to find, if you actually pay attention, you will notice that when you hit Friday, that 3 o'clock stress appointment, all when you get back to that list and you don't touch it till the appointment, you look at it, you go, oh, that that sorted itself out. Oh, well, that wasn't a big deal. Why'd I put that on the list? So you find that when you actually get to the stress time, there might be one or two things that might be big things that are left there, but the other things, either they've sorted themselves out, or now that you've removed yourself from the emotion of that and the feeling of it, and you're coming back to it, you're like, huh, that wasn't really such a big deal after all, right? So
Mhm.
your list of stressful things actually changes over time and as you go through your week. So it's a great way to sort of recognize what are the things that you're stressing about. Are they things that are going to rectify themselves? And then that brings you back to the 3Ds, and to the internal, external, and that really you start to notice how things are and how things are going to work out. And then when it comes to getting stressed about things, you kind of go, oh, that's not really that stress. It changes your perspective. You don't feel that those are
Mm.
stressful moments anymore, right? Because you're like, oh, well, last time this happened and I had my appointment on Friday for my stress time, it was already sorted out. So I don't even have to put that on
Mm.
a list. So it really does shift how you look at things. So that's another strategy that I like to use.
I love it. And what advice would you give to someone who has been diagnosed with any sort of chronic condition and is experiencing pain?
You're asking all the big questions, Jen. I really appreciate that. So when it comes to pain, so this is such a huge topic, but if you're dealing with pain, you need to have a team. That's my feeling. You need to have a team. You need someone in the medical, so your family doctor or your specialist. You need someone that does movement pieces. You need to deal with your food. You need to deal with your mindset. You need to deal with, sleep. You need to deal with all of these pieces. And so for me, what I start with my clients when we do pain coaching, the number one thing, which is the easiest thing, again, I'll put that in quotation marks, but it's the thing that you have the most control over, is what are you eating? Look at your food, because some foods cause inflammation in the body. And if you're consuming inflammatory foods, then your body's going to be inflamed and you're going to get pain. So if you have a pain condition of any kind, so if you're dealing with arthritis or fiber or anything like that, you need to deal with the pain and you got to get the inflammation. That's what it is. It's not the pain, it's the inflammation that is caused, right? So look at your foods. There are 5 inflammatory foods: gluten, dairy, corn, sugar, soy. Those are the biggies. So my first thing I would say to people, get rid of sugar. Sugar is a big problem. Does that mean you're going to have sugar out of your life forever? Maybe not. Maybe you'll be able to have it in small amounts. I don't know. But we need to get the inflammation under control so that we can reduce the pain. So if you can eliminate sugar and focus on that from a food perspective, that will help bring your inflammation down. That's probably the biggest thing that I would say. Then I would say we need to move. Moving is really important. It's really hard when you're dealing with pain because you don't want to move because it hurts. But I want your listeners to think about this. Your body is made up of pieces that should move. I'll make it as simple as possible. Energy, atoms, whatever word you want to use doesn't matter. It's pieces that should move. We are designed to move. So, that being said, when I move, my body is healthy. Muscles, the energy flows, the blood flows, everything moves. So, if you're not moving your body and you're in pain, you're actually going to have more pain by not moving because we are designed to move. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. You don't have to do a, ridiculous workout. Go outside for a walk. Like lift your arms above your head, rotate your wrists, like just move the joints. That's it. So moving is very, very important when it comes to pain and mindset. Those are kind of my 3 pillars. Mindset is really important. And so when you are in a pain flare or a pain cycle, it is very, very easy to fall into the whoa, whoa, whoa pitfall. That hole of sadness and depression and oh my gosh, what is never going to get better, you know what I mean, right? But the thing is that it really is a moment. Now it might be an extended moment, but it's just a moment that you're in. It can get better. And really thinking about, like you mentioned earlier, Jen, what are your affirmation statements? Yes, essential oils. I love essential. I'm all about essential oils. Put that shit everywhere. Like there are a million different essential oils, and there's at least 7 oils for everything. Just get your round of 7 and use those. When you're sad, when you
Yes.
have pain, when you can't sleep, whatever. You got a good toolkit of 7 for every ailment. I'm convinced of it, right? I got an oil Bible at home that's like 3 inches thick.
Oh, wow.
So what are the things that will help you, right? And to get you into that mindset. So, essential oils I like from an application point of view, but I also like them from a cognitive point of view because smell is a very strong sense and it brings a lot of thoughts to us. So pick a smell that you love. I love the smell of vanilla. I don't know why, but vanilla makes me happy. So pick a smell that you like and then when that's in your little toolkit, you're feeling a pain flare, just inhale some of that, right? And that will change your thought process. So it is the thoughts are really important because we create these neural pathways, right? And if it's constantly, I have pain and then I get sad. Okay, but that's the pathway you've created. So we need to change the pathway. So how about I have pain? I'm going to go sniff some essential oils. Okay, I'm going to put on some fuzzy slippers and I drink some water. Like that's my three-step process. Find some kind of thing that works for you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be hard, and it doesn't have to be always the same. It makes no difference. It's just change the pathway. So if your path is always pain and then I go into sadness, we need to break the pattern. We need to pick something else. So go brush your teeth. Do something different.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it
Circuit
is.
breaker.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode today, Fran. I've got one final question for you. It's probably going to be the biggest, hardest hitting one. What is the meaning of life to you?
Oh gosh. The meaning of life is to be joyful, creative, vital, and to help other people do the same thing. That's the meaning of life.
I love it. I love it. You've been amazing. Thank you so much for all of the wisdom that you have imparted today. We will link to the ways in which people can get in touch with you, follow you on Instagram, head to your website. Do you work with people online?
I do, yeah. Majority of my clients are online, so it's the internet is an
Perfect.
amazing thing. Yeah,
Isn't it just? And COVID has been an amazing thing to show us that we can take everything online because we had to
absolutely.
take everything online. Absolutely. So, yes, we'll link to all of that in the show notes. Thank you so much, Fran, for joining us today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I hope you love the Enlightened podcast, and the biggest compliment you can give me is subscribing to this podcast, sharing it, and leaving a rating and review. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. My handle is @JenHamiltonOfficial, and the podcast handle is Enlightened_podcast. You can also find the video version on YouTube on my channel. Just search Enlightened and don't forget to hit subscribe. Have a beautiful day and enjoy living the enlightened journey of life.